We are back with another lesson. So in our last class, we have derived the expression for the binding energy, and then we have derived this binding energy expression in terms of your nuclear mass, and then we have calculated the binding energy per nucleon. Now on the basis of this binding energy per nucleon, we had solved a example, a numerical based on your binding energy per nucleon. Now in today's class, we will discuss a graph which is plotted between the binding energy per nucleon for various elements versus the mass number of those elements. So here I have drawn a graph on which the y-axis shows the binding energy per nucleon of a nucleus and the x-axis shows the mass number of a nucleus. Now, why we have plotted this curve? This is because we want to compare the binding energy for different elements such as deuterium, tritium, lithium, helium, nitrogen, carbon, oxygen, sulfur, iron, and so on. So this graph shows us the various values, or this graph shows us the plot of the binding energy versus the mass number. Now why is this binding energy important? The value of the binding energy per nucleon. Okay, the value of this binding energy per nucleon gives the measure of the stability of the nucleus. That means greater the binding energy, more stable will be the nucleus. Lesser the binding energy, less stability in that atom. That means that atom will decay or it will disintegrate. Clear? So you can remember, greater the binding energy per nucleon, it is better. Lesser the binding energy per nucleon, that atom will not exist. Clear? Or you can also say like it will exist for a very short period of time. Clear? So if you look at this binding energy curve, okay, you see the helium lies on this curve, your deuterium lies on this curve, the tritium lies on this curve, but the helium is at a peak value. So if I draw a rough curve, okay, suppose if I draw a yellow curve like this one, can you see your deuterium, tritium, lithium, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, iron, and other elements, they all lie on this curve. Fine. So if I want to say what will be the binding energy of any element which has a mass number 100, then you can check from here, check from this curve, it will be slightly greater than 8 but less than 10. Clear? So here these elements, your higher deuterium, tritium, lithium, nitrogen, oxygen, all of such elements lies on this yellow curve except for few like your helium, carbon, oxygen. They don't lie on this yellow curve. Can you see these three elements? They don't lie on this yellow curve. What does this shows? This shows that they have a peak value. Peak value means this helium atom has a higher binding energy than lithium. This carbon atom has a higher binding energy than nitrogen atom. This oxygen has a greater binding energy than the isotope of this oxygen atom. So what does this peak shows? This peak shows that they have a higher binding energy. Now what did I say? If I said they have a higher binding energy, the higher the binding energy, more the stable the nucleus will be. That means helium nucleus is very stable, carbon nucleus is very stable, oxygen nucleus is very stable. That means in order to break the nucleus of helium, carbon, oxygen, you have to supply a greater amount of energy in comparison to lithium, nitrogen, oxygen, or other elements which lies on this part of the curve. Yeah, this is the first point we can derive from this three different peak values. Now let's consider your second point. Now if you look at your second point, look at the binding energy of deuterium. It is lesser than 2. Look at the binding energy of tritium, lesser than 4 mega electron volt. Well, okay, so can you see these elements? Hydrogen and the isotopes of hydrogen, they have a small binding energy. Now why they have small binding energy? Because they have a smaller mass number. Can you see? The hydrogen, they have small mass number. Okay, inside this deuterium atom, they have only one proton and one neutron. So the mass number is less. If the mass number is less, that means such nucleus are very light. Okay, as compared to these elements, iron, uranium, moscovium, iodine, tungsten. Look, inside the nucleus of deuterium atom, there are only 2 nucleons. Inside the tritium, there are only 3 nucleons. Whereas inside of iron, there are 56 nucleons. Inside of moscovium, there are 100 nucleons. Iodine, 127 nucleons. Tungsten, 180 nucleons. So if you see that this nuclei, your deuterium, tritium, hydrogen, they are very lighter nuclei as compared to these elements. So the lighter nuclei generally lies at the lower part of the binding energy. Clear? They are at the lower values of the binding energy curve. Fine, this was your second point. That means the lighter nuclei occupies the lower part of the binding energy curve. Fine. And what was the first point? That your this peaks, this helium, the carbon, the oxygen, they don't lie on this peak, this yellow curve. That means they are stable nuclei. So why they are stable nuclei? Because they have the peak, which is your maxima. So if you compare it with lithium, nitrogen, oxygen, that means such elements are less stable than helium, carbon and oxygen. Fine. Why they are less stable? Because they represent the minima. Can you see this down peak? Here also down peak. Here also down peak. So these elements have a lesser binding energy per nucleon. Lesser binding energy per nucleon, that means they require very small amount of energy to break into constituent nucleons. That means if I supply small energy, this lithium will disintegrate. This will break, the nucleus will break into its constituent particles. Similarly, if I supply small amount of energy, nitrogen will be unstable. It will break into its daughter nuclei. So as your this isotope of oxygen. Clear? So this is your third point. Fine. Now the next thing what you notice is that if you increase the mass number, see from 0 you are slowly going to the mass number 50, then slowly you're going to 100, and then slowly you're going to 150. So what you notice is that as you increase the mass number, the binding energy per nucleon also increases. Now why is this binding energy per nucleon increasing? So if you see, as you increase the mass number for this part of the curve, okay, this part of the curve, look, if I increase the mass number, the binding energy per nucleon also increases up till this iron. Look, if I increase the mass number, the binding energy is also increasing. Fine. What does this shows? That means the nuclei is slowly getting heavier. So heavier the nuclei, it becomes more stable. Clear? Like in this case, tritium is more stable than deuterium. Lithium is more stable than tritium and deuterium. Similarly, nitrogen is more stable, oxygen is more stable, strontium, iron, and so on. So up till this iron, what you see is the mass number increases, the nucleus gets heavier, and it becomes stable. So this element, can you see? This is the most stable nuclei. Now, if you further increase the mass number, what you notice is that slowly, the binding energy per nucleon also starts to decrease. Can you see? The iron has a higher binding energy per nucleons than the moscovium. The iron has higher binding energy than iodine, higher binding energy than tungsten. Okay, this is an isotope of a gold atom. Fine. I'll say this one has a higher binding energy than gold. The iron has a higher binding energy than uranium. So what does this shows? This shows that if you keep on increasing the mass number, more the number of protons will be inside the nucleus. More the protons, that means more positive charge. More positive charge means more electrostatic repulsion. So they will push each other. Clear? So if you small amount of energy which is lesser than the binding energy of iron, okay, what will happen? Such elements will easily break. Why? Because they are already unstable. And why they are unstable? Because of the electrostatic repulsion between the protons inside the nucleus. So such elements are less stable as compared to this iron. Fine. So these are the few important points of this binding energy curve. Fine. The next, this binding energy curves also shows us the elements which are prone to your nuclear fusion and the elements which are prone to your nuclear fission. Okay. So this fusion and fission, we will discuss it in our next class. Fine. So that's it for today's class. Thank you. And if you have any confusion, please feel free to ask. I will re-explain it to you again. So again, thank you.